Hello and welcome to 24 Inside. I'm Daphne Brogdon and we're on set again to find out all the background information on what makes 24 24. Well, the fast pace of 24 just doesn't happen, and it has to be edited. And as a matter of fact, they have 3 full-time editors. They take turns working. Let's talk to one of them, Scott Powell.
My name's Scott Powell. I'm one of 3 editors on 24, and been here since the beginning. It's a great gig. Right now I'm editing episode 21 of season 5. It's a situation where Jack has commandeered an airliner, and he's about to be shot down. It's a complicated, sort of a confusing situation, being a real-time show where everything's sort of happening in real time and at the same time. What we call boxes is, the split frames, is a great tool for that. In this case, I've gone very light on the boxes. Now here, let me show you what this is.
500 feet.
They shoot what we call a plate, where they just put a helicopter up in the air and fly at the ground, or shoot it at the same angle that would be outside of Jack's side of the window there. So I just put that in and then put Jack over it.
You're not descending fast enough. Increase the...
That's what they shoot, and then once they composite it, that's what you get. On the airplane, we'll come up right here. Here are all my angles on the airplane. And each of these, they shoot everything with 2 cameras, or most everything. So I've got 2 cameras here. They'll go through the whole scene, 4.5 minutes per take. And it'll go through, here are the 2 cameras covering the action, and they do 8 different angles on it. So they'll go through the same dialogue and the same action 8 times with 2 cameras. And that's just for what's going on in the airplane here. Every episode averages about 25 hours of material that we carve down and extract the story out of it, for a 43 minutes of programming, 25 hours of material. The script supervisor, as they're shooting, notates what coverage they get. And you can see all these lines on this page. That represents the coverage I've got for Admiral Kirkland, giving us this line. I've got where there's a straight line. That means we can see him performing that. And when there's a wiggly line, you don't. So if I want to know what my options are for Logan saying go ahead, I've got 2118 Apple, Baker, and that's it. A lot of making it real is sound. Let me play this, what I just played for you, without any sound. Or just the production sound, no sound effects or music.
Put the oxygen masks on!
You can see they're just on the stage.
Target is increased angle and rate of descent.
Okay. Add music and sound effects. And that's what all these layers are here, if you want to take a look at that. From here down is all audio, and from here up is all video. When I do like this, these boxes here, I stack the images on top of one another, and then I shape them how I want. And the audio, I just layer and then mix them. The right amount of music and effects and what have you. Now there's a shot that we're going to build. They shot Curtis in the car, watching the plane go by. And then they shot the plate. They just got in the car and shot this to go into the window. And then I just took in the title tool, just drew a little stick figure plane. I made the plane about the size I think it should be and about the speed and attitude. Obviously, that's not going to go on the air like this. We're going to, our visual effects people at CBS Animation are going to build a virtual plane, and hopefully it'll all put together. putting real elements into visual effects shots adds a lot of reality to it. You know, if it's 100% animation, it's really tricky to make it look real. Now this shot, let me show you. I had to speed it up because it wasn't going fast enough. A helicopter can't go as fast as a jet, so it's just creeping along like this. But I sped it up like 300%. So it's going, whoa, it's maybe a little more of a roller coaster ride. So the helicopter will go up and fly toward the ground to make it look like they're coming at the ground at a pretty scary angle.
Touch it down! We're still going too fast! Touch it down!
There's another one of my stick drawings. When the giant airplane's filling the whole frame, I think it'll look pretty wild when you hear that roar. Hopefully we'll believe that that's what's happening. And now, here we've got another shot. Now, I think this was taken off a truck, and they just lowered the camera a little bit. There it is. This is a real money shot. This is going to be a complicated thing for our visual effects guys. They're going to have to get the plane coming down, the thrusters, whoosh, reverse thrusters opening up, smoke coming off the wheels, and the struts collapsing as the wheels are touching down, big smoke coming off of them as they're trying to skid to a stop. Now, here's that same airplane I used earlier. I just flopped it over, so it's going the different way, and as it's tilting to the side, I just cut to the pilot glancing out of his left side, and I'm using that as his point of view. Now here, they just shot a truck with and hung lights up and off the side of them, and we'll just build the virtual plane right around that image there. And this, of course, I sped way up. This is a helicopter shot that looks like that. And an F-18 cannot go that slowly, so I just sped it up about 400%. And so the pilot's POV. And backing up a little. All this is an airplane. They just dollied under an airplane at the airport. They just pushed a cart with a camera through just to give us quick flashes of speed like that. Looks pretty hokey, you know, with the temporary images I've got in there and bouncing around, but the visual effects guys are going to clean it up and make it look beautiful.
All right, I'm with Gregory Itzin. You know him as a very evil, or maybe evil, or we're not quite sure, President Logan. But you are a doll.
He's a sweetheart.
Yeah, really. You
Logan's
can
a
use
good-
my arm
Look,
rest.
do you see the difference here?
Yeah, see?
You notice this? I don't know. It's a powerful.
I know. What am I? Just a little
It's okay.
webcast host. You're the
I'll
big
sit
guy.
up straighter. How's that? Okay.
All right, so you are like a lot of the guys on this show, totally different than your character. Very fun-loving, not at all like the tortured president.
Okay. No.
I'm just.
No. Yeah, it's true. It's absolutely true.
All right, now I want to start off with some fan questions. We've got Michael in Los Angeles on MSN Messenger. Wants to know, how early did the writers tell you that you were going to be a bad guy?
Well, it's a longer story, but basically the quick answer is they told me in episode 14, then in episode 16 I was going to be revealed as I'm not the mastermind. I'm one of, a handful. They'd get revealed every time an episode would come out. I'd go, oh, I'm talking to them now. But yeah, they let you know a little bit at a time.
Well, that probably helped you then to, because, I mean, one of the amazing things, and I'm going to blow some major smoke your way right now, because I think you are a fabulous actor, and
Thank
you
you.
have been playing this with so many layers, every little twitch, every little nuance. Because one moment I hate Logan, and another moment I'm kind of pitying him, and it's very complex. So did that help you to not know that you were going to have this?
I don't know.
evil
I don't know.
part
I
of
think it's
Henderson?
an interesting thing that they do, not telling actors. I think in the main it's probably a better idea. Not that I think. I think the less actors know, the better. But that's no. I think that if they don't tell you, then you don't lay anything in for the future. You just play. And this is the strength of the show anyway, is it's right now. Everything happens right now. There is no backstory. Everything happens. So you have to, as a good actor, figure out why you do what you do right now. And if you don't know that you are, you wouldn't be twirling your mustache or giving certain looks. So I think it's probably a good idea not to let us know. I think, to answer your question, I think I would have been fairly circumspect. But I don't, when people say, oh, your faces and things, I don't think about that. All I do is think. But I mean, it's like turn the camera on.
You telegraph a lot, though. There's a lot
okay.
going on.
I try to keep my mind, Logan's mind and Greg's mind very busy. So I just think the thoughts I want to think about the things. I look at the scene beforehand and I think of a bunch of different things that can go on in my head during the scene. When I think about Bauer, I think about David Palmer, I think about my wife. Just finished a scene where all three of those people went through my head before I said a line. So if I'm thinking about that, the audience, that the camera knows I'm thinking about something, and hopefully an interesting story is being told.
Yeah, because it seems to me that President Logan, he knows he's not as good a president as President Palmer.
Yeah, there's definitely a jealousy that I think that's that's strong enough, maybe not even strong enough. There's a resentment. He knows that Palmer was the beloved president. He's trying desperately to do what he thinks is right, but constantly at every turn, everybody's referencing how that damn Palmer was so good. And I have to deal with it. And also, I love the man. That's what I try to do also, is play paradox. I also really admire the man, and I liked him.
Yeah,
There's stuff that happens where I honor him, and at the same time, everybody's going to, hopefully, will go, Hugh, how can you do that? And then, yeah, exactly.
Okay. From Daniel in Manchester, UK on MSN Messenger.
Hey, Daniel.
Hey, what was your initial reaction when you read the script and saw that your character was the mastermind? How did you feel about playing something
You're
different?
leading me down here. You know how I felt. I felt bad. I felt depressed. I felt, no, I did. I mean, you're going to play the President of the United States, you want to be a hero. I mean, to a certain degree, that's, even though they're flawed, aren't they?
Yeah.
You want to set a good example. You want to be somebody, and so I wanted to wear the white hat. So even though he was flawed and doubting and all that sort of stuff and prickly and irritable and that, I wanted him to be ultimately a good president. So when I found out that he was going to be the guy behind things, it took a while until I actually got physically upset for a while.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Yes, because you own your character. You're playing, well, first of all, you're playing, and a character that you play comes from you. So Logan lives in there. Aspects of Logan live in there. And because we're all good and bad, light and dark, and you love your wife, you hate your wife, it depends on the time of day or whatever that is or what's gone down. So Logan has all of this stuff going on in him, but to find out that he was going to be the bad guy, I had to do an adjustment and go back and look at episodes that had been shot and say, okay.
Oh, did you? You looked at last
Oh,
one?
yeah. I had to look at things where I knew the aficionados for the show would go, hey, wait a minute. In this scene, how can he possibly be the guy who done that? And go back and really think about them. For instance, the scene where when Walt Cummings, I call him a traitor.
Yeah.
That happened. When I did it, I didn't know I was going to be the guy who essentially did what Walt
I gotta
Cummings
say,
did.
I'm a little confused.
It's okay. 24.
I know. Are Cummings and Logan? Did they know that?
No.
They didn't. They
No.
didn't connect the dots there. Okay.
I had set the ball in motion, and the Christopher Henderson character, whom I handed off to and said, "Take care of this," had done what I like to think he had done, the nefarious part of it, and so like the death of Palmer and the recruiting of Walt Cummings and all that sort of stuff. I mean, I'm kind of willing to let Walt be the scapegoat, but I also love Walt. So that's the other thing. I mean, when Walt dies, it's like it really, and consequently, and afterwards, those sort of things are psychic baggage big time for Logan to carry. The death of Palmer, the death of Cummings, and the people who died and all, with the syntax gas. I mean, I look at Edgar and Tony and
People you don't even know.
I think all of these people are dead because of something I did. I mean, I'm watching the TV going, oh, God. Okay, it's all going to come down. Yeah.
All right. So from Joey in Sheffield, let's see, we're on MSN Messenger. Have you found yourself approaching the episodes differently now that Logan has turned into a criminal mastermind as opposed to a stuttering, worried wreck? Well, it sounds like your method, though, is the same.
It's a criminal mastermind as opposed to a stuttering, worried
Worried
wreck. I've
wreck.
heard worse. Do I approach it differently? I try to make it simpler. I try to cut down on, I just try to think more. The dilemma has become, we're working it out, but Kiefer, Jack Bauer has
Hello, and welcome.
makes me complicit, so I have a very singular intention, which is to get that thing so that the stuff doesn't hit the fan.
So to speak.
Yeah.
From Dan in Victoria, British Columbia. Now, this is something I've thought too. I've always compared Logan to Richard Nixon. Was there any particular president that you modeled him after?
No. I'm aware of the physical resemblances between Nixon. There's nothing I can do about that. But no, I'm not serious. But I mean, and whether they thought of that when I first got hired.
It's also the sort of
the sweaty
the
upper
paranoid,
lip.
the
No,
covering
yeah.
up the
Well, who do we
conspiracy.
have as a president who is a definite example of that behavior?
Yeah.
Richard Nixon. No
Yeah.
offense. I mean, because but he was a beleaguered man.
Yeah.
And I vaguely resemble him. Even I, watching TV, goes, yeah, I see that. So there's that. But
We won't kick you around anymore either.
it's okay. Yes, you won't have Richard Nixon to kick around anymore. But if there was anybody I emulated, it was early on. And it's not in so much as actions as in the way I let the camera see me, and that was Kennedy. Because when I was a child of the '60s, and so Kennedy was the iconic president, works and all, but not at the time. And so there was all those Life magazine photos of him standing, I won't stand, but standing looking out the window at that great lighting, and he knew the lighting was on him. He was selling an image, but it's the image that I have as the idealized president. I mean, he was beautiful and all of that. So I couldn't do anything about that, but I could stand like he stood. And so in the beginning, Jude Ciccadella, who plays Mike Novick, and we talked about this, and he said, I knew, and because he also was of that era. So when we stand talking about things, we'd actually sort of deliberately Bobby Kennedy, Jack Kennedy ourselves, and then I soon found out that wasn't the president I was going to get to be. But I did hold on to that at first and tried to sell that to a whole generation of people my age who would unconsciously or not recognize that as leadership, standing.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Okay, from Melissa Reyes in Gainesville. Did you ever watch Dennis Haysbert as Palmer in previous seasons? And if so, did you allow his performance to shape the way you interpreted the character of Logan?
No. I mean, no to the latter part. Yes, a little bit. I have to confess, I would try to pick up on 24, and I liked what I saw, but I would try in the middle of the season, and I think as so many people, I would say, well, I don't know what's going on right now.
Right.
And so, this is good, this is
Yeah, rent the
exciting.
whole
I like
DVD.
to. Yeah, well, that happens, and that happens a lot. I find a lot of people who go, so I started watching, and I got hooked, and I thought, wait a minute, I have to find out, so they go back and rent the DVDs. But I think I was deliberately hired as the anti. David Palmer. I mean, I read that, but I also tend to agree with it. They said when they hired me, you're going to be scared, and you have difficulty making a decision. Well, that's not the Dennis Haysbert character.
And it's
just the
very
opposite.
different for Jack to have a president that he can't rely on.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Well, it's different for the whole show.
Yeah.
The whole show, the whole image of the show, the way the show feels, and the audience watching it, to have somebody that's like, would you make a decision?
You don't think it seems like it sort of plays on all the stuff that's coming out now, though, about like, did we have the real information for going into Iraq and not?
You know
all
what?
that
I don't think it was
complexity.
deliberate. I think any piece of art that is made. Thank you. I'm a very neat freak. That's a Logan thing right there. You just fixed your pile of cards.
Thank you.
Any piece of art reflects the times. It can't help it, and so to have a flawed president, I'm sure that people at home are going, oh, yeah, they wrote that. But I don't think they really intend. I think they really wrote me as an anti-Palmer to give the show a little chunk,
Yeah.
And they brought me into last year to facilitate the re-entrance of David Palmer. They didn't intend to have me here next year. I mean, it's a mitzvah for all of us. I think it's gone well for them to have me and Gene.
Oh, yeah.
But I think basically I was a conduit to get David Palmer back to save the world again because he was everybody's favorite president.
Because he was out of office. All right. Me Love Jack.
Me
Wonder
Love
what
Jack
that
sounds like a
means.
license.
Yeah, exactly. From Me
Jack.
Love Jack on the message boards.
Oh, that's their ID?
Yeah, exactly. Their handle, so to speak.
There's more in life.
Well,
Trust me. I'm glad that you
But
like
not
the show.
right now. But
that's
not
okay.
right now.
Okay.
What were your personal thoughts about the president asking Mike to pray with him?
I knew it referenced that moment in our history where Nixon and Kissinger knelt. I knew that would be the challenge, and I knew that everybody would see that. Well, not everybody, because there's at least one generation.
See, I was thinking
But-
Reagan more, because I think of him being more like praying in the Oval
Oh,
Office.
so you didn't know about this?
Uh-uh.
Well, see, there you go. See, it's something that I know
Okay.
in reference. It's and there's, I guess people of a certain age would know this.
Yes.
So I knew that was what it was about. But you're asking me about the scene. The scene was tremendously challenging because there is a point in it. I don't know. People need to know all of this, but as an actor, you have to decide I have to decide what my belief system is. If I'm going to sit down, if I'm going to kneel and ask somebody to kneel down and pray to God, am I a guy who prays to God regularly? Am I a guy who prays to God because right now he's the only guy who can help me? And so those sort of dilemmas enter into it. And also, how do I make the transition in a way? In the scene, if you look, there's a big transition, if that means anything to anybody, from when I'm saying things are going wrong to kneel with me, pray with me.
Yeah.
So it was great. It was a great, tremendous challenge of a scene. Fortunately, I got to do it with Jude, who is a joy to work with, and he and I really recognize each other as craftsmen.
From Charles Petts in New York City, from your perspective, what does Logan value more? How he is perceived or power? It seems like perception matters more to him.
Well, you gave me those two choices. If there were other choices, that would be.
Okay, between perception and power.
I think I can't say. I might be a 50-50 split. I think he craves the power because of a big, deep hole in himself, but isn't that the way it is? And but perception's important. He's a press-savvy man. I mean, right from the get-go, one of the first things I say in the very first moment of the day is, make sure that chair you sit me in is higher than the Russian president's.
But not higher than 24 Inside host.
That's right.
Gregory Edson, thank you so much.
Thank you. Keep watching. I'm sure you will.
Well, everybody knows what people look like on 24, but how do they get that look? Well, somebody like this helps them out. Mike Marcelino, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Now, Mike, you do the hair on all the principals except for Kiefer, right?
Yes.
Fantastic. Okay, now, it seems like the big issue on this show would be continuity. That the hairdo they have in the morning has to be the same hairdo they have later at night.
That's exactly it. It's the main job, just making sure that everybody looks the same day in and day out. So weekly haircuts, weekly color, taking continuity photos every day, every week, and I have my own little calendar that everybody's on, so I know when they need to get their touch-ups and their haircuts, and so they always got to keep that same look for 9 months.
Oh, isn't that difficult, though? Because, sometimes people, they go for a weekend down to the desert or something, and maybe they get a little, their hair lightens up a little bit. Are those issues you have to deal with?
Not so much with the hair, but for makeup, it could be more of an issue because then they would have to tone that down if they've been playing golf or whatever. Or if they end up getting a haircut like they shouldn't, pretty much their hair belongs to me when they come.
Do you tell them that? Your hair is mine.
Absolutely. We set the look, and they pretty much stick by it for the whole year, and pretty much everybody's really good about it. So
when you set the look, say, for somebody like Audrey Raines or for Martha Logan, are you looking at the script and thinking, I think that they would be, have this sort of, straight hair and no curls, or how do you decide that?
It's a collaboration. I mean, we bounce it off the directors, the producers, the actress, and we come up with 2 or 3 different looks, and then we do a test. They're happy with it. If they're happy with it, then it usually passes the test with the producers and the directors, and then we just take it from there, and then that's their look, And as the show evolves, people are out either getting kidnapped or in certain situations where eventually the hair is going to evolve from something that was nice here in the CTU to something that's just a little bit more natural and beaten up, especially as the day progresses into the 20th hour.
Has there been a hairdo, man or woman, on the show that you've been like, oh, why did we ever try that?
There was last season, Rachel Ellsworth, and she's got very, very curly hair, and we decided to blow her hair straight, so that she would come in the morning, and it was a 45-minute blow dry every time that she worked. So that was just something that we chose, and some wear and tear, but at the same time, it really suited her for her look last year.
Yeah, when she was coming in, she was kind of higher on the food chain there.
Absolutely.
Okay, well, thank you so much for joining us.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, a lot of fun.
Thanks a lot.
I hope you've enjoyed learning more about 24. Keep watching, because we're going to put more shows up regularly. I'm Daphne Brogdon. Thanks for watching 24 Inside.